John Roberts, Chief Justice of the United States, is just a total failure. A total failure. He is. I want John Roberts. What do you mean, Dan? Wasn't he appointed by Bush? A total failure. He is going to go down as the worst GOP nominated Supreme Court justice in modern U.S. history. Now, you may say, what happened? I'll get to that in a second. He abandoned us again this week. And when I say abandoned us, I mean the Republic. I don't mean Republicans. I want a judge who judges according to the Constitution, not according to what Republicans or Democrats say. Roberts doesn't understand the Constitution. He pretends to, but he doesn't. Remember John Roberts, he invents rights when it's politically expeditious for him. He's a politician now, Roberts. And then he ignores rights clearly delineated in the Constitution. He invents rights. What do you mean? Remember Obamacare? Oh, Obama is literally on tape, and Obama's people about Obamacare, saying that the individual mandate, in other words, if you didn't get insurance, you would have to pay a penalty. Mm-hmm. Obama is literally on tape saying that that's not a tax. I'm not kidding. In an interview with a major news network right before the election, where it was unpopular to call it the Obamacare tax, he was asked, if you don't get Obamacare because of this individual mandate and you have to pay a penalty, isn't that a tax? It ain't a tax. It's not a tax. Him and his people wrote it. In order to save Obama, because Roberts is a total phony, Roberts in the Obamacare Supreme Court case, where it was right about to be thrown out, saved Obamacare by saying, no, it's really kind of a tax. Obama said himself it wasn't. Roberts says it is because he wanted to save Obamacare, which he did. A disaster of a judge. Disaster. Then we had, of course, the citizenship case on the census, where he admits that the citizenship question on the census, which they wanted in there, Secretary Russ wanted in there, he admits it was perfectly legal. He just didn't like the process. So he throws that out too. Why? Because John Roberts is a politician. He caters to the Washington Post and New York Times editorial page. And he's afraid because he's gutless. Oh, Dan, you're being harsh. It's true. He's terrified, John Roberts, of the Washington Post, Democracy Dies in the Darkness, Washington Post. They are the darkness. And the New York Times editorial page. He has no guts at all. They warned him, you better vote in our favor on this citizenship case. You better not throw out Obamacare. And he didn't because he's afraid. Because he's spineless. He's gutless. The single worst appointee we have seen in modern U.S. history. A disaster. Well, what happened now? Chief Justice Roberts at it again. Had the opportunity to read the Constitution. Remember that, Joe, Second Amendment thing? Remember that after the First Amendment? That whole right to bear arms shall not be infringed. You know, it's only the Constitution. Yeah. I mean, Roberts, I know Roberts doesn't want to get into the details. The deets, Joe, the deets are too much, shall not be infringed. I'm not going to read that. Come on, the Constitution. Don't waste my time. I got other things to do. I'm having a soiree with the Washington Post editorial writers. Come on. Lovey. That's his crowd. So long and short of it is, I have this Wall Street Journal article up, which explains a lot of it. The Chief Justice ducks on gun rights. The court majority cowers to Senate Democratic threats by the Wall Street Journal editorial board. Listen, Chief Justice Roberts, again, an embarrassment to the court. When the Wall Street Journal editorial page, which believe me, is right, if not center left sometimes on some issues, when they're telling you what a phony you are, it's bad, okay? Really, Joe. I mean, you know, because I cite the Wall Street Journal out because they're good on some issues, other things but I respect what they do. When they're coming after you, what did he do? Well, New York State enacted this draconian, unquestionably unconstitutional gun law, basically saying you could not transfer your gun or from your house to like your second home or a range, even unloaded or unlocked in a car, which was never going to pass constitutional scrutiny. People in New York State sued. It made it up to the Supreme Court. New York State, knowing, Joe, they were going to get crushed on this case, that there was no chance in court. New York State says, no, we changed the law. You can carry it now to a range, but it has to be like a direct path. Why? Because they knew they were going to, they figured their defense, New York State, would be, no, you can't sue us on that old law anymore because it's no longer a law. We reworded it, excuse me. Well, Alito, Clarence Thomas, and others who actually, respect the Constitution, like John Roberts, the case still made it to the Supreme Court. We're like, no, you don't get to ex post facto change the law. There were already damages done. We're going to look at that law. Roberts said, nah, we're not. Why? Because the editorial pages scared little Johnny again because he's so afraid of this thing called the Constitution, and he has no nerve. He has the spine of a jellyfish. They wrote, Dear Justice Roberts, the editorial pages and the Democrats, you better not, because they knew, by the way, this was going to be a big win for the Second Amendment. You better not hear this case. And of course, compliant little Johnny with his Snuggie and his Malamars had to comply. From the Wall Street Journal piece. He was afraid. Listen to this. So after the Supreme Court accepted the case, the city, New York City, revised its ban to let the plaintiffs tote their guns, locked and unloaded, directly between their residences and other permitted destinations. The state legislature passed a similar law. The case was moot, New York politicians declared. In other words, you can't sue us anymore, no more law. Well, I'm adding hack in there, of course. Hack, Rhode Island Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, a Democrat, and 4 other Democrats also weighed in with an amicus brief threatening the justices if they didn't follow their orders to drop the case. Here's Democrat hack Senator Sheldon Whitehouse. The Supreme Court is not well, the hack Democrats wrote. Perhaps the court can heal itself before the public demands it be restructured in order to reduce the influence of politics. Let me translate that for you. Hack, filthy Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, an unconstitutional loser, up there on Congress, basically said to the court, and frightened little Johnny, who has no guts to stand up to him. He'll stand up to Trump at any moment because the Washington Post will love him, Chief Justice John Roberts, that is. But little Johnny read into that, oh my gosh, if we rule against them on the Second Amendment, Sheldon Whitehouse is going to attack us and threaten to restructure us. Oh my gosh, I better follow their orders now. Roberts, an embarrassment. Hat tip, by the way, to Dan Horowitz over at, he's at RM Conservative, who has been writing about how dangerous this relying on the courts has been for years. We'll never win in the courts, folks, ever. Ever. Because unfortunately, for every Thomas, there's a Justice Roberts. And by the way, Kavanaugh let us down on this too. Kavanaugh, who tried to play both sides, who I'll be honest with you, although what happened to him was a disgrace, I've never trusted Kavanaugh. And our worst fears about Kavanaugh and the Second Amendment are starting to come true too. We put our neck on the line for this guy. Apparently he can't read the Constitution either. The whole shall not be infringed thing. They have a serious reading comprehension problem.
You just heard The Dan Bongino Show. You can also get Dan's podcasts on iTunes or SoundCloud. And follow Dan on Twitter 24/7 @DBongino.